Okay, great. I don't know. Can you see? Is this right? You can do it. So I'm gonna. Okay, this machine is the hot water. This hot water machine of this sort cannot be used on Shabbat. Why not? Can you tell me what's wrong with this machine?
It's not a pot.
It's what?
It's not a pot or a
It's not a pot. What does it do? You know, it works more or less.
Heats the water.
Heats the water. So, okay, it heats the water. The problem is that it heats the water. Okay, you take water out of this, cold water goes in and gets heated, and that's cooking that water. So we can't use something like this on Shabbat. On Shabbat we use something like this, and lo and behold, it's actually left out. Okay, so we're gonna. Great. So we could do a little experiment. Actually, we could totally. Oh, this is interesting. Okay. All right. We can tell the difference. Okay. So if I take my tea. Hope everyone likes tea. And I pour. Okay, this is not gonna work. Okay. We're gonna. This is empty, which is fine. But I'm plugging. Yeah, it's not empty.
You need a filter.
That's fine. It's just not very good. If I take hot water directly from this machine, I'm now taking water from the Kli Rishon, from the primary vessel. It's going over my tea, and this would be a problem. Okay, this tea is being cooked. Okay, anyone want this? Okay, you cannot do this on Shabbat. Anyone want tea? Keep trying. Okay. Alternatively, from the Kli Rishon, I pour it into an empty cup. It's not very. If you all have one of these, you should get a better one than this one. Okay. I think the seal must be a little bit old.
I think if the water's fuller, it's better.
Okay, that could be. Okay, so this is empty. The urn is the Kli Rishon, the primary vessel. This cup is the secondary vessel. And I'm putting tea into this, so this is a little bit iffy because maybe tea is easily cooked, even in a Kli Sheni, even in a secondary vessel. So this is questionable, not usually done in Orthodox homes, although an argument can be made that it's fine. Anybody want this? Thanks. Okay. So instead, what Moshe Feinstein recommends, okay, we're going to pretend. I'm going to use this. We're just going to pretend that it's, Okay, it's much better. Okay. And pretend that this was our urn, okay? We just have to make it a little bit. Now it's the Kli Sheni. This is a secondary vessel. I pour it into a Kli Shlishi, a tertiary vessel. And then the tea bag goes into the tertiary vessel. Like that. Okay?
Because it's cooler? Technically?
It may be cooler, and because, versus the Kli Sheni, yeah, look, the thermal energy is... Is a Tosfot, I think they explain it this way. The thermal energy is directed outward towards heating up the walls of the cup instead of directed inward towards the thing that's being cooked in it. Another way to understand it is just it's a strange way to make tea, and that's part of the point, right? A lot of what we're doing on Shabbat
it's different on purpose.
Exactly, right? We're just sort of showing that we don't cook on Shabbat, so we're preparing tea in a way that is like kind of awkward and strange, as a way to sort of demonstrate we're not cooking. We're just using this like warm water that was heated before to draw out some flavors from the tea bag, but we're not cooking. And so you would never cook in a tertiary cup in this way. No one would ever do that. So we're really demonstrating and showing that we're not cooking. Anybody want some tea? Got one more?
I'll take it.
Great. Enjoy.
You want it?
Oh, you
I have choose tea, girl.
Everyone else is welcome to tea.
But I'm the only one that has it, correct?
Right, you have the Shabbat.
Well, kind of correct.
I think so, but yeah, make-believe correct, yeah. We should really test the different teas and see how we can taste the difference in the water, which you probably couldn't. But that's what's done. And this is an example I think I mentioned before. Some of these English books, especially about Shabbat, have strict opinions in the large English guidelines, and then in Hebrew footnotes, they tell you the lenient position. So this, I think the book, The Shabbos Kitchen, which is some of your reading lists, it's a English guidebook to the Shabbat kitchen. It says you can't make tea on Shabbat other than through this method of making the the concentrate, and then footnotes in Hebrew, it tells you how to do it the way that Moshe Feinstein recommended using.
That's
So I guess
so
it is, if you can read Hebrew, you deserve to an easier way to make tea.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Like the transfer for the secondary cup, is there like any length of time that like you need to leave it, or you
Nope.
can like pour,
Yep.
that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. What I typically do is, like just in terms of like just how I host now at this point, I have a little box of tea bags. So at the end of the meal, I go around the table and say, who would like tea? And I just keep a count of how many people want tea. And then I bring the box to the table and pass it around, everyone takes their tea bag. Then, in the kitchen, I take like a little teapot, a ceramic teapot, and I fill it from this. And I have a teapot of, this is not my cliché, my secondary cup. And then I pour 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into however many teacups are necessary. And I bring the teacups to the table and people put their tea bags in. So they don't know, in theory, they don't know where, but in fact it's a klish it's a third cup. You can actually buy coffee mugs that say, like in Hebrew, klish lishi l'shabbat. It's like a very niche market, but you can, but it does exist, you can find it. Any other questions?
You don't necessarily have to pour it into the klish before they put the tea bag in.
Well, before you pour it in, it's really irui klisheni. It's the pourings out of it's connected to the, right, because the spout is sort of all connected.
So the tea bag should not be in the third
Ideally,
vessel.
yeah. It's a sort of middle category. The irui, the pouring,
Okay.
is not quite as strict as the thing it came from, but not quite as lenient as the thing it goes into. So
Gotcha.
it's just similar to pour into an empty cup and then put the tea in.
If you add cold water to the second, the first one, yeah, well, technically the middle one, the second one, the cold water just to cool down the tea, because sometimes it's too hot. Like I've come into this with this urn here. It's a little hot, and then if you pour it into the third one, is that cooking in the second if you pour cold water?
So in theory, it shouldn't be because nothing cooks in kli sheni. But water, how does water cook other than by rising in temperature? So you shouldn't put cold water into hot water under any circumstance. Really.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
even into the third one, into like
Into
the
the
very
third
last
one,
Because sometimes it's just like a little too hot.
I think as
You know
long,
what I mean?
yeah, you should wait. I think as long as it's
Oh.
yad, so I would, as long as it's yad soler, as long as it's so hot that you can't put your finger in,
Uh-huh.
I would not.
Don't add cold.
I would not.
What
yeah.
about throwing an ice cube into the
Like
last
similarly.
I think, yeah.
afterwards,
Yeah,
like
no.
this? And
I
throw
think
an
as
ice
long as
cube
it's
in.
so hot that your hand recoils, I would not put the ice cube. I mean, that's even, because again, like, even though it should be fine, it's like, as long as it's not a primary vessel, cooking doesn't happen, liquid